At exactly 2:43 a.m., the lights inside NASA's Deep Space Monitoring Center in Houston, Texas, flickered for less than a second. Nobody paid attention. Power fluctuations happened all the time. Dr. Daniel Hayes, a 46-year-old astrophysicist, was finishing another routine night shift. He had spent nearly 20 years searching for signs of intelligent life beyond Earth. Yet every signal they had ever received had turned out to be nothing more than cosmic noise. He was seconds away from shutting down his workstation. Then every monitor in the room suddenly froze. The conversations stopped. One by one, the scientists looked toward the largest screen in mission control. Instead of displaying stars, it showed Earth's exact location in space. A thin blue circle slowly appeared around the planet. Nobody understood what they were looking at. Then the computers began receiving a transmission. It wasn't audio. It wasn't video. It wasn't even a language anyone recognized. Thousands of glowing symbols filled the screen, changing every second. NASA's artificial intelligence immediately started decoding the message. The room became so quiet that even the sound of people breathing could be heard. After nearly 3 minutes, the symbols disappeared. Only one sentence remained. Asterisk, we found you. Asterisk, no signature, no explanation, just 3 words. A young scientist nervously laughed. This has to be a prank. But nobody else laughed. Dr. Hayes noticed something strange. The signal wasn't coming from Mars. It wasn't coming from the moon. It wasn't coming from any known planet. It was coming from empty space, somewhere beyond Pluto, nearly 6 billion kilometers away. Impossible. Nothing built by humans could transmit a signal from that distance with such power. Before anyone could react, every satellite connected to NASA suddenly shut down. For exactly 9 seconds. When they came back online, something had changed. Every telescope around the world was now pointing toward the same location in deep space. Nobody had given that command. It's controlling our systems, whispered one engineer. A cold silence filled the room. Within 20 minutes, officials from the U.S. government arrived. The building was placed under military lockdown. Every scientist surrendered their phones. Every computer was disconnected from the internet. Nobody was allowed to leave. Hours later, the President of the United States was personally briefed. His first question was simple. Can we confirm this wasn't sent by humans? The answer came immediately. No, sir. It definitely wasn't. The room fell silent. For the first time in history, humanity knew it wasn't alone. The next morning, the story somehow leaked online. News channels called it fake. Social media exploded with theories. Some people believed NASA had discovered aliens. Others claimed the government was hiding the truth. By evening, millions of people around the world were staring into the night sky, waiting. Nothing happened. Until midnight, a police officer driving through a quiet highway outside Roswell, New Mexico, noticed strange blue lights floating above the desert. He stopped his car, turned on his body camera, and stepped outside. The lights weren't moving. They weren't making any sound. As he slowly walked closer, he realized they weren't lights at all. They were 3 enormous objects, perfectly still, hovering silently above the ground. The officer reached for his radio. Before he could speak, every electronic device stopped working. His flashlight went out. His radio died. Even the engine of his patrol car shut off. Then, a bright blue beam slowly descended from one of the objects. The officer tried to run, but his body wouldn't move. He wasn't being held by ropes. He wasn't trapped. It felt as though time itself had frozen around him. A tall figure stepped into the light, nearly 8 feet tall, silver skin, long arms, large black eyes, no visible mouth, no sign of fear. The being walked toward him, then stopped only a few feet away. For several seconds, neither one moved. Then the alien slowly raised one hand. Not like a threat, more like a greeting. At that exact moment, every phone, television, computer, and digital screen across the United States suddenly turned on by themselves. A single sentence appeared everywhere. Asterisk, We are not the first. Asterisk. And then, darkness. For nearly 12 seconds, every electronic device on Earth remained completely black. Then, one by one, the screens came back to life. But this time, there was no logo, no news channel, no internet connection. Every screen displayed the same image. A breathtaking view of Earth, seen from somewhere deep in space. A calm voice echoed through every speaker around the world. It spoke perfect English. Not too fast, not too slow, almost human. Asterisk, do not be afraid. Asterisk, millions of people stood frozen. The voice continued. Asterisk, we did not come to conquer your world. Asterisk, asterisk, we came because someone else is already coming. Asterisk, the transmission ended. Silence returned. Across the United States, panic spread within minutes. Airports closed. Military bases went into full alert. The stock market crashed before it even opened. No government could explain what had just happened. Inside NASA's underground command center, Dr. Daniel Hayes replayed the transmission again and again. Something didn't feel right. The voice sounded peaceful, but hidden beneath the recording was another signal. A signal too weak for the human ear. NASA's supercomputer isolated the hidden frequency. When the audio was converted into a visual pattern, everyone in the room stopped breathing. It wasn't random. It was a map of Earth. One location flashed brighter than every other place. Antarctica, thousands of miles away, hidden beneath nearly 2 miles of ancient ice. Within hours, the United States assembled a secret international expedition. Officially, the mission never existed. The aircraft carrying Dr. Hayes landed on the frozen continent 3 days later. The temperature was nearly 60 degrees Celsius. The wind screamed across the endless white landscape. Nothing could survive there, or so they believed. Satellite scans led the team to a mountain buried beneath ice. The readings showed something impossible. A perfectly circular structure, nearly 1 mile wide. Artificial, not natural. The team began drilling. Hour after hour, the ice grew thinner. Finally, the drill broke through. Not into rock, but into empty space. A massive underground chamber. The explorers climbed down. Their flashlights revealed smooth black walls that looked untouched by time. No dust, no cracks, no signs of decay. It was as though the structure had been built yesterday. Then someone noticed the floor. Hundreds of giant footprints, all leading in one direction, none leading back. Dr. Hayes whispered, "What walked in here?" Nobody answered. The team followed the footprints deeper into the darkness. Minutes later, they entered a chamber unlike anything ever discovered. In the center stood a gigantic crystal, nearly 50 feet tall. It glowed with soft blue light. The moment Dr. Hayes stepped closer, the crystal suddenly came to life. Ancient symbols began moving beneath its surface. A hologram appeared above it. The same silver alien the police officer had seen in New Mexico. It looked directly at the team. Then it spoke. Asterisk, you found our warning. Asterisk. Dr. Hayes took a careful step forward. Who are you? The alien answered calmly. Asterisk, we are the keepers. Asterisk. We protected your world for thousands of years. But our time is over. The room fell silent. Hayes asked the question everyone feared. What is coming? For the first time, the alien's expression changed. It looked afraid. Very quietly, it answered. Asterisk, the eaters. Asterisk. The lights inside the chamber instantly turned blood red. The crystal began flashing violently. A deep rumbling echoed beneath the ice. One of the soldiers shouted, "Something's moving." The ground started shaking. Tiny cracks raced across the frozen floor. Then, from somewhere far below, a deafening roar echoed through the ancient structure. It wasn't human. It wasn't mechanical. It sounded like something that had been asleep for millions of years. Dr. Hayes slowly turned toward the darkness. 2 enormous glowing red eyes opened in the distance. The entire chamber shook violently. Chunks of ancient ice crashed from the ceiling. The glowing red eyes in the darkness grew brighter and closer. No one moved. No one even breathed. For several seconds, the only sound was the deep, thunder-like footsteps echoing through the underground chamber. Then, a massive creature slowly emerged from the shadows. It stood nearly 30 feet tall. His body looked as if it had been carved from black metal. Long razor-sharp claws scraped against the frozen floor, sending sparks into the air. Its eyes burned like molten lava. The soldiers instinctively raised their rifles. Dr. Daniel Hayes shouted, "Asterisk, don't shoot, asterisk." But it was already too late. One terrified soldier fired. The bullet struck the creature's chest and instantly melted into liquid metal. The creature didn't even flinch. Instead, it let out a roar so powerful that the walls trembled. The blast knocked everyone to the ground. Equipment shattered. Lights exploded. For a terrifying moment, the entire chamber was consumed by darkness. Then, a bright blue flash filled the room. The silver alien, one of the keepers, stepped in front of the team. Without saying a word, it raised its hand. A glowing blue energy shield formed between the humans and the creature. The monster slammed into the shield. The impact sent a shockwave through the chamber, but the barrier held. Dr. Hayes stared in disbelief. "What is that thing?" The keeper answered in a calm but heavy voice. Asterisk, it is not one of the eaters. Asterisk, it is their prison. Everyone looked confused. The keeper continued. Thousands of years ago, humanity believed monsters lived only in myths. But every myth begins with a memory. This creature was created to guard the prison beneath Antarctica. Dr. Hayes frowned. "You mean, this thing has been protecting us?" The keeper slowly nodded. For over 1 million years, silence filled the chamber. The soldiers lowered their weapons. Then the keeper looked directly into Dr. Hayes's eyes. "The warning we sent from space was never about this guardian. It was about what the guardian has been keeping locked away." At that exact moment, the ground cracked open. A wave of freezing air rushed through the chamber. Far below, a gigantic circular door became visible beneath the ice. It stretched for nearly half a mile, covered in symbols no human language could translate. One symbol suddenly began glowing red. Then another. Then another. The keeper's face changed. For the first time, it looked truly terrified. "The seal. It's breaking," Dr. Hayes whispered. "What happens if it opens?" The keeper answered with only 4 words. Asterisk, Earth will never recover. Asterisk. Suddenly, every screen, radio, and communication device carried by the expedition activated at the same time. A single message echoed through the frozen chamber. Not from NASA. Not from the US military. From somewhere, deep beneath the ancient door. A cold, distorted voice spoke. Asterisk, we are awake. Asterisk. The glowing red symbols spread across the entire gate. The massive door began to move. Slowly, very slowly, it started opening. And from the narrow gap, a darkness deeper than night itself began pouring into the chamber. The ancient gate continued to open. Slowly, silently, as if it had been waiting millions of years for this exact moment. The freezing air inside the chamber suddenly disappeared. Everything became strangely quiet. Too quiet. Then, a voice echoed from beyond the darkness. It wasn't loud. It wasn't threatening. It was calm. At last. Asterisk, humanity has arrived. Asterisk. Every soldier tightened their grip on their weapons. Dr. Daniel Hayes stared at the massive doorway. "What are you?" he whispered. A tall figure slowly stepped out of the darkness. It wasn't a monster. It looked almost human. The skin shimmered like black glass. Its eyes contained what looked like entire galaxies. It smiled. "We are the eaters, but not of flesh. We consume civilizations. We erase their knowledge, their memories, their history. And when the last memory disappears, it is as though they never existed." The keeper stepped forward. "You will not touch this world." The being smiled again. "You already failed. Suddenly, hundreds of glowing images appeared in the air. Every great civilization in human history, ancient Egypt, Rome, the Maya, countless unknown civilizations. One by one, they faded into darkness. Dr. Hayes felt a chill run through his body. The Eaters had never destroyed planets. They erased the identity of entire civilizations. They turned history into nothing. The Keeper looked at Dr. Hayes. There is only one way to stop them. It pointed toward the giant blue crystal. This crystal contains every memory humanity has ever created. If it is activated, the Eaters will be trapped forever. But the crystal requires one living mind to merge with it. And that person can never return. Silence. No one spoke. Dr. Hayes looked at the frightened soldiers. He thought about his wife, his young daughter, his home. Then he looked at Earth on the holographic display. Billions of innocent lives. He smiled softly. I've spent my entire life searching for intelligent life. I never imagined my greatest discovery would become my final mission. The Keeper lowered its head in respect. Dr. Hayes placed both hands on the crystal. Blue light surrounded his body. Every memory of his life flashed before his eyes. His first day at NASA, his wedding, the birth of his daughter, his father's final words. Then, the crystal exploded with light. A wave of brilliant blue energy rushed across the chamber, through Antarctica, across every ocean, into space itself. The Eaters screamed. Their bodies cracked like glass. Within seconds, they vanished. The ancient gate sealed forever. The chamber became silent. The danger was over. But when the light disappeared, Dr. Daniel Hayes was gone. Only his NASA ID badge remained on the frozen ground. #### 1 year later. The world never learned the truth. Official reports described the Antarctic mission as a scientific expedition. NASA never revealed what had happened beneath the ice. The Keepers quietly left Earth. Before departing, they transmitted one final message to every observatory on the planet. Asterisk, your greatest strength was never your technology. Asterisk, asterisk, it was your willingness to protect one another. Asterisk. #### epilogue. Every year, on July 18th, people around the world report seeing a single blue light moving silently across the night sky. Scientists still can't explain it. But those who know the truth believe it is not a star. It is Dr. Daniel Hayes, watching over the world he gave everything to save. ###moral. Asterisk, a civilization is not remembered because of its power. It is remembered because of the courage, compassion, and sacrifices of the people who choose to protect others, even when history never learns their names. Asterisk.